Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Preheat. Today we're going to be talking about Devastation Evoker. So I was just talking about this in my stream today about how I was hoping that we would get some survivability buffs for Devastation Evoker. If I were to talk about the top issues I have for Devastation right now, number one is going to be threat, right? It seems that we pulled just way too much threat, especially with, playing effectively, right? Trying to deal damage up front like they want us to. It just causes a lot of threat and causes tanks a lot of issues. Unless you have like a rogue or a hunter, which kind of feels like it's necessary, especially for raid encounters like Rezaget or Broodkeeper. But anyways, not going to get too much into that. Number two is survivability. Now, survivability is something that I think we're pretty good on. Like, I feel like we are well equipped when it comes to survivability. The issue is that all of our stuff that we use to mitigate to survive has to be done up front, and there's really no recourse once the damage has happened. I know other classes are like this too, but it does feel kind of bad to feel almost helpless in a situation where, you could press a button, like you have a button designed to heal you in a situation where you need to heal quickly, but it just doesn't really do anything, right? With the Verdant Embrace, Panacea, it just feels like these heals don't really do too much. Well, it looks like Blizzard agrees because we actually got some changes today. So let's go ahead and talk about these changes that are hitting the PTR soon. All right, so to start things off, we have a buff to Verdant Embrace. So this is going to be for Devastation Evoker only. You will not get this as Preservation, but we're getting a 35% increase to our Verdant Embrace healing. Now, this isn't going to be to make or break, right? Like, it isn't really that big of a heal in the first place, but 35% is better than 0%. So we'll definitely take this buff and be happy with it. I think that this is going to be probably enough to save me in some situations, right? It's not going to really change the game too much, but it will definitely make me feel better pressing this button, right? Because right now, I think it heals me for less than 10% of my health, right? Having that 35% buff, it should definitely heal me for more than that. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I would like to see this doubled, but 35% is pretty close to what it was before we got the big nerf that hit everything in beta, right? There was a nerf basically in beta where they took everyone's health, they increased it by around 40%, and they also increased the amount of damage all the mobs did by 40%, which effectively made heals 40% weaker, right? So this is almost making up for some of that, and it should bring Verdant Embrace back to kind of where it was before the healer nerf went into effect. So I think this is a great change, and I'd like to see more, but I'm going to be happy with what we got. We also have a couple talent changes. Okay, so this is going to be a rework to a talent that affects Renewing Blaze. It is called Foci of Life. So this talent, if we're looking for it on the tree, it's going to be right underneath Renewing Blaze right here. And what they've done to this talent is they've removed the side of it where it's 20% increase, right? Like if we look at the old version, it's Renewing Blaze's initial effect is active. You receive 20% increased healing from all sources. They've scrapped that, and they've instead gone with Renewing Blaze causes you to heal more quickly, causing damage you take to be healed back over 4 seconds. This is effectively a 100% increase to it, right? Like, it's going to still heal you for the same amount that it used to heal you for, but the heal over time, right? The speed of it is doubled, which means that the HPS is essentially doubled here. And I'd say the main issue I have with Renewing Blaze right now is just that it takes a little bit too much time for it to heal you over time. So this is definitely an interesting talent, and it definitely does seem pretty nice for especially like solo content. I think this would be a really, really good talent to pick up. It's going to be really strong in PvP too, I think. Yeah, I could definitely see myself taking this talent quite a bit. I do like having Renewing Blaze be on a 1-minute cooldown with Fire Within. It's going to be really hard to say no to that, but there's definitely going to be encounters where it'll just make more sense to take Foci of Life. And I think that if you take it overall, like if you actually look at logs, you're probably not pressing Renewing Blaze once a minute anyways. So if you have it healing you 4 seconds instead of 8 seconds, right, doubling the speed that it heals you, I think you're going to notice yourself surviving quite a bit more, especially with the Verdant Embrace change there as well. We also have a couple other changes. So one I want to point out here is Draconic Legacy. So they've basically added additional 1% to this for each level. So it's going to be 3% and then 6%. And previously it was 2% and then 4% right here, as you can see. So yeah, this is just effectively 2% more stamina as Devastation. You could basically think of it that way. But, not too big of a change, but definitely a welcome change, just a little bit more survivability. And then we also have another change. This one's actually kind of interesting. So they took a talent that not many people were taking, Roar of Exhilaration. Not a huge fan of this one. And they basically removed it, and they moved another talent that I'm actually a huge fan of, Ancient Flame. Now, the reason why I don't take Ancient Flame, and you probably don't either, is that it's kind of in a hard spot to get to, right? Like, you have to give 2 points to attune to the Dream. It's just a very steep cost to take as Devastation. But they're actually moving this talent here, all the way over to where Roar of Exhilaration was, right? So now it's actually very easy to pick up. We just need to give up 1 talent for it. Very easy. And they've also changed what it does. So it says casting Emerald Blossom or Verdant Embrace reduces the cast time of your next Living Flame by 40%. So this is going to be for damage and for healing, right? Like if you cast Verdant Embrace, which is going to heal you for 35% more now, it's also going to make your next Living Flame 40% faster. And that's really, really good news, especially if you're playing in the raid and let's say that a mechanic happens to you, right? And you got to take a couple steps and you have basically 1 global to just waste, right? Normally you would just do an Azure Strike in there as just kind of a filler, right? But this means that if you're using Verdant Embrace as that filler, or maybe you're using Emerald Blossom as that filler with this talent, it's going to make your next Living Flame 40% reduced cast time. And that's probably going to make up for the global that you spent and almost being like a DPS neutral thing. And it also heals you and you get Scarlet Adaptation from your healing. So overall, I'm a huge fan of this change. This is looking really, really nice, and definitely excited to pick up this talent. I'm just so glad that they removed it from below Attuned to the Dream, because it really felt out of reach in this spot. So I think now that we have it over here on the left, it's just going to be way easier to pick up, and definitely a competitive talent to look at. But that's it. So what are you thinking? Are you excited for the new survivability buffs that we're getting? You know, overall, I don't think that they're really going to change much, to be honest with you, but I'm still happy that we're getting at least some treatment here. At least they're kind of looking into us. But the thing I would really like to see is maybe just some bug fixes, right? Like I know a lot of people out there are playing Devastation and they're getting a little bit annoyed with, you know, Disintegrate not casting whenever you have 3 Essence, even though it says you should be able to cast it, but you just can't cast it for some reason. Or your empowered spells not going off, even though you press them and you activate them again, they just don't go off for some reason. So hopefully we get some bug fixes to that stuff. You know, they did fix the deep rescue bug, right? So we can't accidentally, you know, deep breaths grip people anymore. But definitely hoping to see more bug fixes in the future. But, you know, still, I can't complain about these changes. These are good changes. So anyways, let me know what you think. If you'd like to see more of this content, be sure to subscribe to my channel, ring that notification bell, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.